All right. So in today's class, we'll start with the major elements, essentially trace elements and other elements that are present in your body, minerals essentially. We'll discuss the classification, function, dietary resources, and daily requirements, as well as deficiency disorders of these minerals. What happens if there is any deficiency occurred of these minerals? Now, when we talk about minerals, there are two major categories. You have major elements. This will include your electrolytes as well, and there are trace elements या micro elements भी बोलते हैं लोगों को. Okay, so major elements में आता calcium, phosphorus, इसके अंदर calcium, phosphorus, this thing magnesium, sodium, potassium, chlorine, and sulfur. ठीक है, so your electrolytes are included in this, as you can see. Trace elements will include iron, your iodine, copper, zinc, manganese,
Cobalt,
cobalt, molybdenum, selenium, chromium, and fluorine. पीरियोडिक टेबल याद है? आप लोग पीरियोडिक टेबल कभी पढ़े थे होंगे ना पहले?
yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so these are the major and minor elements. We'll be discussing about some of the important ones. Now there are a few other categories as well. Now in some textbooks you will find that, see, trace elements maybe these are the essential trace elements, meaning you need to take these from outside sources. You will have other trace elements as well. For example, there is now in some textbooks I'll discuss it anyway because in some textbooks you will find them. You will have possibly essential elements, possibly essential trace elements. इसमें आता आपका निकल, टिन, सॉरी टिन एस्टेबम, राइट, वेनेडियम, as well as silicon. ठीक है, in case you are getting a doubt, it is tin. ठीक है. Non-essential trace elements which are produced in your body, you don't need to take. Technically, they can be harmful to your body. They are trace elements: aluminum, aluminium, boron, germanium, cadmium, arsenic, lead, mercury. All of these will include the non-essential ones. Physiologically, iodine is very important. Iodine is important for your thyroxine function. Iron and copper are needed for hemoglobin formation. Zinc is a part of carbonic anhydrase as well as insulin. It takes part in insulin formation. Cobalt is a constituent of cyanocobalamin, vitamin B12. So those trace elements are definitely required, very, very important. We'll talk about the major elements first, then we'll go to the minor ones. First, we'll talk about calcium. So calcium is the most abundant mineral that is present in your body, and if you take an adult man, about 1 to 1.5 kilograms of calcium will be present in an average man. Okay, 99% of this is present in bones and teeth, and the rest you will find here and there in different compounds as hydroxyapatite crystals. Okay, you'll find them in blood and so on and so forth, different areas. Now, biochemically, their functions will include, or the functions of calcium will include development of bone and teeth, development of bone and teeth. Very, very, very important for teeth health and as well as bone health. Calcium along with phosphates is required for the physical strength of your skeletal tissue. Osteoblasts, which are responsible for bone formation, they will rely on calcium. Okay, without calcium, imagine osteoblast as a maestri, or you can imagine osteoblast as a uh, essentially a worker who is what that fellow is essentially making a wall. Imagine the wall is your bone and you need bricks to make the wall. Okay, even if that person is present but there are no bricks, you'll not be able to make the wall. In this scenario, the bricks is calcium. Okay, calcium and phosphate. So without calcium and phosphate, your bones and teeth cannot be strong. It is very important for muscle contraction. आप लोगों को मसल मूवमेंट पढ़ा दिया शायद ना?
Yes, sir.
if I remember correctly, a couple of weeks ago you were telling अभी start करने वाले हैं हम skeletal tissue बोल के. So I'm sure अब तक तो हो गया होगा. How does calcium participate in muscle movement? Can anyone tell me? How is calcium involved in movement of muscle or contraction of muscle essentially? You don't need to go into detail. अच्छा, troponin C याद है? Who is troponin C and what does it do in muscle contraction? अच्छा, एक काम करो, एक बार क्लास के बाद read muscle contraction, then you will know what is the importance of calcium in muscle movement and muscle contraction, how it participates. Calcium will also take part actively in interaction between actin and myosin molecules. That is also how it is helping in contraction of muscle. Anyway, other than that, it will take part in blood coagulation. Technically speaking, calcium is a factor of clotting. So you have 13 different clotting factors, right? Out of them, clotting factors के बारे में कभी सुने? There is 1 to 13.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So calcium is factor 4. Okay. Now, calcium in turn is responsible for multiple reactions. If you have read about clotting process, you know that it will involve both an extrinsic pathway and an intrinsic pathway, and it will go in a cascade manner, in the sense that let's suppose one reaction occurs, this fellow will trigger another reaction, this fellow will trigger another reaction. एक reaction के बाद दूसरा, दूसरे के बाद तीसरा, तीसरे के बाद चौथा होता. That is called a cascade reaction. So essentially, calcium will provide, or calcium will act as a enzyme in multiple of these reactions. It will help in conversion of multiple compounds, and it is actively taking part in blood coagulation. So without calcium, you cannot have blood clotting being done properly. Calcium also takes part in nerve transmission. Nerve, technically muscle activation, muscle excitation में भी काम करता है ये. Without calcium, you cannot have nerve impulses being generated and being transmitted. It is responsible for membrane integrity and permeability. ठीक है. Membrane structures, there are several molecules that are transported across the membranes. ठीक है. Water है, ions है, and calcium plays an important role in that. It will influence the membrane structure essentially. It activates multiple enzymes. ठीक है. Succinate dehydrogenase है, lipase है, ATPases है. A lot of these enzymes are activated using calcium. It is responsible for release of hormones. So calcium in turn causes release of insulin, PTH, calcitonin. ठीक है. From your endocrine glands, various endocrine glands. Where is insulin secreted from? Insulin कहाँ से secrete होता?
Pancreas, sir.
Okay, good. PTH. अच्छा, what is PTH by the way? आप लोगों को ever came across PTH? Parathyroid hormone. अभी तक नहीं आया. आप लोगों को थायराइड नहीं पढ़ा है अब तक?
Yes, sir.
पढ़ा है. अच्छा, तो पैराथायराइड नहीं पढ़ा है उसके साथ. Okay, I'm guessing that you weren't taught about it. What about calcitonin? Who secretes calcitonin? अच्छा, ठीक है, रहने दो. So anyway, calcium is responsible for the secretion of parathyroid hormone, calcium, as well as calcitonin. Now, coming to the daily requirement of calcium, adult men and women need about 800 milligrams of calcium per day. ठीक है. Women in pregnancy will need more. ठीक है. Pregnant women, lactating women, and even postmenopausal women. ठीक है. This is postmenopausal women जिनके अंदर menopause हुआ, in them menstrual cycle is not occurring essentially. Those women will need about 1.5 grams per day. Sorry, 1.5, yeah, 1.5 grams per day. So 1500 milligrams a year, in case you are wondering. ठीक है. Children in between the ages of 1 to 18 will need about 0.5 to 1.2 grams per day. Adults, adults, infants, which is less than 1 year old, they will need about 300 to 500 mg per day. Okay, this is the daily requirement. What are the sources of calcium other than milk and milk products? उसके अलावा क्या source है calcium का?
Nuts.
Nuts.
Cabbage, sir.
So
Cabbage.
Cabbage.
Meat, sir.
Meat.
Beans, sir.
okay, beans. Which type of beans or any beans will do? अच्छा ठीक है, beans. Anything else?
Fish, sir, fish.
Not a very good source, but okay. It will have a little bit of calcium.
Sir, leafy vegetables, sir.
That is also an okay source, but okay. Not a very good source.
Sir, oranges, seafood.
Both of them are mediocre sources. Ande, egg yolk, very good source of calcium. Cabbage आप बोल दिए, okay. Turnips as well. Ever heard of shaljam? Okay, shaljam Hindi में बोलते हैं. I'm not sure what it is called in your language. Turnips are essentially that they will look like beetroots. ठीक है, almost look like beetroots. ऐसा रहते हैं. Pinkish in color, whitish pink in color. They will have a green stalk like this, and they'll almost look like a ball. Okay. The turnips, especially the leaves of turnips, are very good sources of calcium. Anyway, milk, cheese, nuts, cabbage, beans, all of these are decent sources of calcium. Now, if we talk about the absorption of calcium, how calcium absorption is occurring, there are a few factors that will promote calcium absorption, as in enhance calcium absorption, and there are a few that will inhibit calcium absorption. First of all, the most important factor will be vitamin D. Vitamin D positively influences the synthesis of calcium binding proteins. Calcium binding proteins will be present in your intestinal epithelium. Calcium binding protein का काम वही है. It will bind to calcium that you are eating. अब जो आप खाना खाते हैं, imagine you are eating something in lunch or during lunch. So whatever you eat, the amount of calcium present in that will get absorbed through your intestine using these calcium binding proteins, okay, which are present in your intestinal epithelium. And this vitamin D essentially improves the amount of that calcium binding protein, CBP. ठीक है. So those calcium binding protein level अगर बढ़ा तो calcium absorption भी बढ़ जाता. Parathyroid hormone influences, it will increase calcium absorption. ठीक है, it will increase the serum calcium levels by producing calcitriol. It will produce vitamin D, because of which calcium levels will increase. So indirectly increase कर रहा. If there is acidity, low pH generally influences higher calcium absorption. Acidic conditions are favorable for calcium absorption. Lactose promotes calcium uptake from intestinal cells. Okay. Amino acids like lysine and arginine also promote calcium absorption. Now coming to the factors that will inhibit calcium absorption, mainly you have this thing. If the diet contains a very high amount of phosphates, if your diet contains very high amounts of phosphate, it will essentially form insoluble compounds with calcium. Calcium phosphate ban jata. That calcium phosphate will not be able to absorb inside your body, and this prevents calcium uptake. The dietary ratio of calcium is to phosphate should be about 1:2. Okay. Calcium is to phosphate. So whatever you are eating, ideally it would be better if the amount of calcium is, the ratio between calcium and phosphate is about 1:2. You can also have 2:1, but anything other than that, there might be a problem in calcium absorption. Free fatty acids, if they are present, they will react with calcium to form calcium soaps, and they will, hamper calcium absorption. When fat absorption is impaired, so will calcium absorption be impaired. Alkaline conditions, so acidic conditions calcium ka absorption increase kar raha tha na. Alkaline conditions will do the opposite. Alkaline or basic conditions decrease calcium absorption. Taking too much fiber in your diet also decreases, interferes with calcium absorption. Now, if we talk about the plasma level or normal plasma level of calcium, it is somewhere in between 9 to 11 milligrams per deciliter. Okay? Generally, in some textbooks, you will find 8 to 10. Some textbooks will find 8.5, but the range is somewhere in between 9 to 11. If you represent the same in milli-equivalents, because it is an ion, you can represent it in milli-equivalents as well, 4.5 to 5.5 MEQ. Be careful of the units, okay? MEQ per liter of blood. This has milli-equivalents, this has mg per dl. Be careful when you're using this. Now, coming to the factors that will regulate plasma calcium levels, all the factors that are influencing that increasing or decreasing calcium absorption, they will influence plasma calcium levels. Technically, the two most prominent factors will be PTH, parathyroid hormone, and calcitonin. These two will positively and negatively influence depending on what it is. Parathyroid hormone will positively influence serum calcium levels, meaning it will increase serum calcium levels. Calcitonin will do the opposite. Calcitriol in turn increases calcium levels in your this thing. Calcitriol technically kya karta? It will induce synthesis of specific calcium binding protein in your intestine, and it will stimulate calcium uptake by osteoblastic activity. So osteoblasts of your bone will promote calcification or mineralization of your bone. They will also promote remodeling of your bone. So when you have higher amounts of calcitriol, vitamin D बहुत ज़्यादा है तो more and more amount of calcium will be absorbed from your intestine and more will be thrown into your bone so that your bones will become nice and strong. Then coming to deficiency disorders of calcium, we'll discuss about different calcium disorders, not just deficiency. First, we'll discuss about hypercalcemia. Excessive amount of blood calcium levels. If blood calcium level is very high, it is generally associated with hypoparathyroidism. Hyperparathyroidism. See, PTH is secreted by your parathyroid hormone. And if there is excessive activity from your parathyroid hormone, which is enhancing serum calcium levels, obviously serum calcium levels will go up. Whenever PTH is released, PTH in turn will cause, synthesis of vitamin D. Vitamin D is increasing serum calcium level. So if there is hyperactivity of your parathyroid gland, obviously calcium levels will increase. Serum calcium levels will increase. Parathyroid hormone will do another function. It will not only increase the absorption of calcium, it will also start increased activity of osteoclasts. Osteoclasts are bone breaking elements. They will chip away bone. Okay? You will have normally in a healthy individual osteoblast and osteoclast, and their activity will be in balance. Okay? In a normal healthy individual, osteoblastic and osteoclastic activity should be in balance. This fellow is making bone, this fellow is breaking bone. So essentially what will happen is in this continuous process of breaking and making bone, you are making the bone stronger. ठीक है, and you are renewing bone tissue. जो osteon है उसको आप renew करते जा रहे हैं so that fresh and healthy tissue, bone tissue is present. Now if you have overactivity of parathyroid hormone, खाली इसकी activity बहुत बढ़ जाती, osteoclastic activity increases way too much, because of which instead of there being two negatives, there will be multiple negatives, meaning there will be over breakage of your bone. Okay? And whenever there is increased bone breakage, all of that calcium from the bone is essentially going into your blood. Normally parathyroid hormone is stimulated or it is secreted whenever serum calcium levels are low. अगर serum calcium level low है तो PTH release होता है. PTH in turn causes serum calcium to come back to normal by interfering with excretion of calcium. It will not let calcium be excreted from your intestine. It will enhance the absorption of calcium from your intestines, and it will increase activity of osteoclasts, all of which will increase serum calcium levels, which can lead to hypercalcemia. If it is occurring in, especially if it is occurring in normal calcium levels, agar there is overactivity of parathyroid gland, then it will cause hypercalcemia. Okay? Also, decrease in serum phosphate levels, increase in alkaline phosphate levels. Alkaline phosphate is an enzyme that is produced by your liver. अगर ALP level, ALP की activity बहुत बढ़ गई, alkaline phosphate की, या फिर serum phosphate level बहुत कम हो गए because of renal losses, that is associated with hyperparathyroidism. Again, it will cause increase in calcium activity. Okay. And generally you will see that when patients have very high amounts of calcium, there will be a lot of calcium being excreted in their urine as well. So there might be urinary stones of calcium being formed, calculi. ठीक है, calcium की calculi दिखने लगते हैं आपको. Now coming to the symptoms that will occur in patients who have hypercalcemia, they will have lethargy. The patients will have muscle weakness, constipation. This is all happening in hypercalcemia. Okay. Patients will have nausea, they'll feel giddy, they'll feel like vomiting, loss of appetite, not to the point of anorexia, but they will have loss of appetite, they'll not feel like eating. Myocardial contractility increases. This can be a problem in patients who have a history of heart attack. ठीक है, और if there is any other cardiovascular condition, उसके अंदर myocardial contractility increase करना can be problematic, and the patient's bones will become susceptible to fractures. ठीक है. Now coming to hypocalcemia, in case blood calcium levels are very low, serum calcium levels are low. Now this is a very serious condition, this is a life threatening condition. Okay, mainly hypocalcemia is seen in a condition called tetany. Okay, generally जब भी calcium levels will be lower than 7 mg per deciliter, it will in turn cause tetany. The symptoms of tetany will be neuromuscular irritability and convulsions. Neuromuscular irritability, it means that your neurons will misfire, and because of this your muscles will undergo spasm, or there will be improper movement of your muscle. In some people you will see that their muscles will not exactly be in their control. Okay, there might be slight twitching, involuntary twitching, meaning involuntary movement of their muscles, or proper movement of limbs altogether because of tetany. Okay, this is because of neuromuscular irritability. Neurons are misfiring, and as a result those muscles are also misfiring. So wo ho sakta, and convulsions can happen, because of which patients can die. There is a chance. Now generally hypocalcemia is mostly due to hypoparathyroidism. Parathyroid gland is not working at all, or there is very decrease in the activity of parathyroid gland. Kabhi kabhi it can be because of surgical removal of parathyroid gland. Sometimes what happens is, in patients who have hyperthyroidism, thyroid gland के अंदर एक छोटा gland रहता है, parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland is responsible for controlling calcium levels. When a patient has thyroidism, especially hyperthyroidism, after giving the drugs, let us suppose it is not working properly, आप क्या कर सकते हैं, उनके अंदर surgery करके you can remove a part of their thyroid gland, so that the amount of thyroid hormones that are being secreted is low. In such patients, let us suppose when the surgery was being done, they accidentally removed parathyroid gland as well, or a part of parathyroid gland, because of which the total activity of parathyroid hormone decreased. In such cases, hypocalcemia can occur. So autoimmune surgical removal of parathyroid glands, or it could be an autoimmune diseases as well. Autoimmune diseases are a special class of diseases in which your immunity will start attacking your own cells. So normally your immunity will not attack your own cells, your WBCs, all of the immune cells which are present in your body, T cells, B cells, and all of them, they will not attack the cells of your body because they recognize them as a part of your body. In autoimmune disorders, what happens is this recognition is not proper. So think of it this way. Imagine you have a security guard, okay, and that security guard, let's suppose you are in your hostel, and that security guard knows who are students of the hostel and who are students who are not of the hostel. Whenever a person from outside the hostel comes inside the hostel, they will generally stop them and ask, why are you coming inside? What is the purpose of visit? Who are you coming to visit? So on and so forth. Okay. Imagine the person who is coming from outside as a pathogen, as bacteria or whatever, a foreign organism. So let us suppose अगर चोर आया एक बार hostel में, so immediately that fellow will create an alarm and they will act against that bacteria, against the foreign entity. In autoimmune disorders, essentially what is happening is ये security guard is attacking your own hostel mates. ठीक है, they will start removing the people who are living in the hostel itself. So in autoimmune disorders, your own immunity will affect your cells. ठीक है, so in this scenario, autoimmune disorder is associated with damage of your parathyroid gland. Autoimmune essentially autoimmune disorder, एक type of autoimmune disorder में क्या हो सकता, there might be antibodies being created against parathyroid cells, chief cells of your parathyroid hormone and parathyroid cells altogether, because of which your parathyroid hormone is getting damaged. That can happen. Another problem is rickets. ठीक है, rickets is a disorder in which calcification of bones will become very defective. This may be due to low levels of vitamin D in your body, or sometimes even due to poor dietary intake of calcium and phosphate. Sometimes calcium, sometimes phosphate, sometimes both. ठीक है, it can also be because of increased activity of ALP, alkaline phosphate की overactivity की वजह से भी rickets हो सकते, because of which the integrity of bone will go down, bones will become weak, and sometimes it can also lead to osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a condition in which bones will become porous, bones will become weak, very very weak. ठीक है, जनरली पोस्ट मेनोपॉजल women या फिर elderly women के अंदर बहुत बहुत कॉमन है. ठीक है, osteoporosis. Then we have another molecule which is phosphorus. Now, phosphorus mostly occurs in combination with calcium. Most of the functions of phosphorus are similar to calcium. Bone and teeth, development में बहुत important है. Phosphorus also is responsible for production of ATP, GTP. A lot of energy abundant molecules will have phosphorus inside them. Creatine phosphate. Phosphorus also takes part in the formation of DNA and RNA in the form of phosphoproteins and nucleic acids. ठीक है, a lot of enzymes need to be activated using phosphorylations, and multiple phosphorylation reactions are required for metabolic reactions to be completed. Now, if we talk about daily intake of phosphorus, the intake of calcium and phosphorus should be somewhere in between, as I told you, 1:2, 1:1 भी रह सकता या 2:1 भी रह सकता. So 1 part calcium, 2 parts phosphorus, 1 part calcium, 1 part phosphorus, or 2 parts calcium, 1 part phosphorus. ये ratios में आप ले सकते हैं. In infants, especially 2:1 ratio लेते हैं. More calcium, less phosphate. That is better. ठीक है. Good sources will be milk, leafy vegetables, meat, eggs, cereals. All of these are decent sources of phosphorus, and the absorption is mainly promoted through calcitriol. Vitamin D का active form की वजह से uptake of calcium and phosphate is promoted. ठीक है, normal serum phosphate levels will be somewhere in between 3 to 4 milligrams per deciliter. ठीक है, if you see the whole phosphorus, that is whole amount of phosphates present in your blood, that is about 40 milligrams per deciliter, but per deciliter 3 to 4 रहता. ठीक है, whole blood में 40 रहता, आपके एक deciliter में 3 to 4 रहता. Anyway, if there is any disorder, it can be hypophosphatemia, where there is phosphorus levels are very very low, या hyperphosphatemia भी हो सकता, where phosphorus levels are exceedingly high. Low concentration of organic phosphorus, if serum phosphorus levels decrease in your body, it can lead to bone disorders, meaning bones will become weak, teeth will become weak, it can lead to rickets. ठीक है, especially renal rickets में बहुत common रहता. Bones will become very very, their integrity will be lost. Generally patients who have renal diseases, kidney disorders में phosphate retention will be affected. Normally phosphate is retained inside your body, is reabsorbed back into your body, where whatever phosphate is being thrown out of your body, that will be reabsorbed back through your nephrons. If a patient is having renal disease, their serum phosphate level might increase also, might decrease also, depending on what type of renal disease is occurring. That also is important. थोड़े renal disease में phosphate absorption बराबर नहीं होता, थोड़े renal diseases में phosphate, most of the renal diseases में phosphate absorption बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाता. So it depends what type of renal disease is occurring in the patient. Mostly it will increase serum phosphorus levels. Even in hypoparathyroidism, if parathyroid gland is not working properly, or अगर autoimmune disorder है for parathyroid gland का, या for whatever reason, let us suppose parathyroid cells are being damaged, in that scenario as well, serum phosphate levels will increase. If a patient has low amounts of vitamin D, generally it will be associated with low amounts of serum phosphorus levels as well. Okay. As a result, calcification of bone gets affected. So that is about phosphorus. Then there is magnesium. So magnesium is mostly occurring in your bones with in combination with calcium and phosphorus. So calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, all of these are responsible for bone health. Okay, teeth and bone health. Magnesium acts as a cofactor for multiple enzymes. Without magnesium, essentially enzymes will not work. A lot of enzymes, enzymes like hexokinase, glucokinase, phosphofructokinase, adenylate cyclase, ये पूरे enzymes need magnesium as a cofactor, meaning without magnesium those enzymes will not get activated and they'll not function properly. And magnesium has also another very important function. It is responsible for normal functioning of, or it is responsible for proper neuromuscular functioning. So if a patient is having low amounts of magnesium, उनके अंदर neuromuscular irritability हो सकती, or their neuromuscular function will be affected, in the sense that the communication between their neuron and muscles will not be proper. So for example, let us suppose you want to move your arm. Okay, there is essentially a command going to your CNS in your brain. From your brain, the message is going to your spine, and from your spine, you are moving that limb. Let us suppose you're moving your leg or you're moving your hand. और movement के लिए पहले neuron fire होना, उसके बाद that impulse goes into your muscle through neuromuscular junction, and from your neuromuscular junction, your muscle is moving essentially. This movement occurs with the help of magnesium. If magnesium level is low, that movement will be improper. Okay. Technically even phosphorus levels अगर low रहे तो वो neuromuscular function will not be proper. In an adult male, the requirement of magnesium is about 350 milligrams per day. Women will need slightly less, about 300 milligrams per day. 350 and 300. Okay. Good sources of magnesium include vegetables like cabbage and cauliflower, meat, milk, fruits, cereals, beans, nuts. All of these are decent sources of magnesium. Okay. Normally, if you take good a lot of fat, okay, if your dietary intake has a lot of fat, calcium and alkalis will essentially diminish the absorption of magnesium. Parathyroid hormone increases the absorption of magnesium. So keep that in mind. If you take very very high amounts of fat or phosphate or calcium, magnesium का absorption कम हो जाता. So take it in decent quantities. Not too much amount of calcium, and phosphate is also bad because it will interfere with magnesium absorption. If you look at normal serum concentration of magnesium, serum magnesium levels will vary in between 1.8 to 2.2 milligrams per deciliter. Okay. Now, normally kidneys are mainly responsible for maintaining this level. अगर kidney अगर बराबर काम नहीं कर रही, especially loop of Henle, if there is any problem in loop of Henle, magnesium will not be reabsorbed back into your body. So magnesium normally gets excreted, but the little amount of magnesium that is getting excreted will be reabsorbed back into your body through loop of Henle. अगर loop of Henle पे कोई damage है या nephron में damage है, तो magnesium का reabsorption बराबर नहीं होता, and serum magnesium levels will start going down. So whenever a patient has deficiency disorder, the first problem that occurs is muscle weakness, very very common in chronic alcoholics. patients who are chronic alcoholics, इनके अंदर generally deficiency of magnesium is very common, and they will have muscle weakness as well, because alcohol generally inhibits magnesium absorption. Magnesium absorption will not occur properly, and hypomagnesemia, whereas serum magnesium levels are low, in those patients they will have convulsions. They are liable to convulsions. They have a risk of convulsions. Fits हो सकते हैं उनके अंदर. Other than that, patients who have low magnesium, उनके अंदर abnormal pregnancy होती. It can cause rickets. Abnormal pregnancy, rickets, bones will be very weak. Other than that, a patient might have growth hormone treatment की जरूरत पड़ती है उनको. Sometimes the patient might go into diabetic coma. All of that, a lot of problems might occur. Some drugs will also cause hypomagnesemia. If you're taking something like furosemide, diuretic है जो hypertension में use करते हैं. If a patient is having hypertension, उनके अंदर furosemide बोल के एक drug use करते हैं, which is a diuretic drug. It will decrease blood volume and hence decreases blood pressure. That can cause hypomagnesemia. ठीक है. Hypermagnesemia अगर हुआ, if you are taking too much amount of magnesium, that can cause decreased rate of breathing. RR decreases. So अगर serum magnesium levels बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, that can lead to breathing problems. Breathing rate increases and cardiac arrest can occur. So that is also very dangerous. Your heart will essentially stop working properly. Now electrolytes अपन कल discuss करेंगे, sodium, potassium, chlorine and all of them. ठीक है.